funding agreement with City of St. Pete for the RTS.
Nita.
She's training me.
Rapid Transit.
Good morning, Planning Committee. My name is Abhishek Dayal, Director of Project Management Office, and I'm here to talk about a very exciting milestone we reached with the City of St. Petersburg on this project. So this item is for action for this committee to recommend to the board to execute a funding agreement with the City of St. Petersburg to support the Central Avenue BRT project funding. So some of these slides, I should say, might be repetitive for some of you who were in the previous committee. So I apologize in advance for that, but I think it's important to still to have that in that context. So with that. So just to give you an overview, the Central Avenue BRT project will connect downtown St. Pete through South Pasadena and to the destinations in St. Pete Beach. As you know, we've been having several discussions with various stakeholders and more recently with St. Pete Beach. So as a result of that, we have adjusted our terminus of this project to terminate at the County Beach Park instead of the Don Cesar, which is about 15 blocks north of the Don Cesar. So it's just one station that we're not going to go to. So as it stands right now, the project is about 10.3 miles with 16 station pairs and still connecting all the key destinations that we intended to connect at the beginning of this effort. So from a regional perspective, as you all know, this is a very important project and a critical connection to a lot of the regional destinations that we ultimately would like to connect to. As you may also know, T-BARTA is undertaking the PD&E effort for the 41-mile BRT project, which will connect to the terminus on the eastern end of our project. So this is truly a catalyst project, which we think then can spawn other connections within the Tampa Bay region. So as we went through the design phase, the early design phase of this project, we have refined the project cost estimate. So as it stands right now, the project cost is $43.93 million, with funding coming from all these partners through FTA, FDOT, City of St. Pete, and PSTA. Where we are project-wise, we've completed 30% design, and we are working towards 60% design phase with the capital cost refined, as I discussed in the previous slide. We have started a lot of coordination with our other stakeholders, including FDOT, FTA, and the City of St. Pete, and more recently with Pinellas County on the County Beach Park access location. So the two items that were significant for this project were two funding agreements that City of St. Pete approved. The $4 million towards design and construction was approved unanimously by the City Council last week. And then previously, a few months ago, the City of St. Pete also approved $750,000 of their own local funds for public art at the BRT stations within the city limits. So we're very excited about that. The only remaining local funding that we are working with is with FDOT, and it is in the work program for fiscal year 20. So as soon as the fiscal year begins, which will be next month, we will start working with them on getting a JPA signed, which this board already approved back in May, so we've already cleared that step on our end. As far as the funding agreement with the City of St. Pete is concerned, it is for $4 million towards the facility improvements and design and construction for the BRT project. The funding is to be used for specific improvements within a certain defined area within the city limits, and that's within their in-town CRA and District 11A, which is where those funding is coming from for the $4 million. So they want to make sure that all the funding, all the improvements that we're doing as part of this project are within that general boundary, and that falls between downtown St. Pete and 34th Street. And so again, this action also reaffirms the local community's support for this project and the funding commitment that FTA does require prior to initiating the grant agreement.
I just have one little question. Does the art project also have to be confined to the CRA?
No, the art project is separate, so it's going to be a separate endeavor.
That's exciting.
So where the project is right now from the federal side, as you all know, we received the second highest rating a project can get, which is a medium high, back in March in FTA's annual report to Congress. FTA last month also began formal oversight of this project, which means they assigned a project management oversight contractor who is working with us to review the design, the scope, the cost, and the schedules, and then they essentially let FTA know if we're ready to start the grant agreement process. So in our words, we still believe that we are still on track for a grant agreement towards the end of this year with all those milestones that we recently achieved. So we are continuing to work on the design of this project. We hope to have that completed by fall of this year. And then towards the end of this year, assuming we get our grant agreement with FTA, we can start construction with the project opening in end of 2020 or early part of 2021. So that's the recommendation. We are asking the planning committee approve the funding agreement and request the board to approve that with City of St. Petersburg for $4 million. Thank you.
Well, you just mentioned we're going all the way to the park, not the Don Cesar. Well, how does the recommendation by St. Pete Beach affect all that? Are we still gonna go there and then try to work it out later, or how's that gonna work?
So we have done the analysis on where it makes sense to have the terminus. And our recommendation is to go to the County Beach Park to hit those key destinations. Now, City of St. Pete Beach did express concerns about being in the County Beach Park, but we still believe that that's a good terminus for the station.
Well, I thought they expressed more than concern. They said no.
Well, they didn't get
So are we still negotiating with them? Because I thought they took a vote. I went to the meeting and saw the, presentation by PSTA, which was very good. And Witt stood up and talked and said this is a terminus of a very important project that was bigger in St. Pete Beach, but they pretty much the next day voted terminated it,
So
not
the-
go into St. Pete Beach. So are we still, is that door still open, or it seemed like it's pretty closed to me? And how does that affect the funding?
Well,
They don't have.
number one, well, to answer your second question, it has no effect on the funding. It has no effect on the project. I too watched it and agree with you that they seem pretty firm in their position. But again, it really had, their action has no effect on developing a successful project.
Okay.
Thankful to Pinellas County for having a lot of discussions, even more discussions as we speak, with Abhishek and his team on creating a turnaround, kind of a newly constructed turnaround at that County Beach parking lot. So that's owned by the county. The road is owned by FDOT. So the ridership demand at those big resorts is where is a key component to making the project successful. And so all steam forward with going to the County Beach Park with this thing.
So I just have a question, I should know the answer to this, but the County Beach Park, that is past the big resorts?
Yes.
Except for the
I don't do
Don
beach.
Cesar.
Except for the
Well,
Don
yeah,
Cesar.
I don't-
Yeah.
I don't beach.
It's right across the street from the Publix that's down there, and then it's
Chick-fil-A.
that's
Across
your
the street.
landmark.
My daughter worked there.
Oh, okay. And it's past Trade Winds, and then the Dolphin Beach Resort is just north of it.
Right, that's exactly right. And the old,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't believe that the owners of the various hotels have not made it stronger repudiation of the city, you know, residents. It seems like the whole thing is just sort of silly, that they are trying to prevent something that's going to help their own community. I
Right.
mean, it's silly. But let's move forward with this thing. Do we need
We need a motion.
we need a motion? I'll make the motion.
Well, we have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Comment? Yeah.
So more of a comment, and I'm really doing this more on Commissioner Justice's behalf. When
No, fair.
and it's tangential, but when do we change the name from Central Avenue BRT to something
Good
that
question.
people will understand?
We're in the process of doing that right now. We are working with our marketing team to initiate more of a branding kind of discussion, and it's sort of dovetailing nicely with the station architecture look and feel that we talked about in the finance committee. So we actually had a great meeting to talk about what the look and feel should be, the branding should be, and then also the name of the project, the route.
We don't wanna
All of that has been
we
discussed.
wanna announce it with the logo.
No, I get that. I just know at one point we talked about like community involvement and kind of getting some energy around that. And I was just looking up and I saw Central Avenue BRT and it reminded me.
We have a
Commissioner
new
Justice asked like
initiative.
6 months ago, it's not on Central Avenue. What are we going to start calling this thing?
At my,
So,
at my one-on-one with Commissioner Justice earlier this week,
He said the same thing.
I told him about our new initiative to create some energy around it forgive me, Whitney, but I named Commissioner Justice as a key stakeholder to that component. But I did tell him that his idea of a rat would not be accepted. The rat.
Rapid area
Rapid
transit.
area
Yes.
transit.
He's got a logo and everything. Just-
He does. Okay, and that's an aside. I just it just occurred to me. So there was a motion,
I
right?
have a motion, but I have one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
Can we go back to the slide, Abhishek, where all the different amenities in the city are,
A rat running down this beach.
keep going. It's this one that I'm looking at.
The second slide from the
Oh.
beginning.
And my question is, two of the most important amenities, the Dali and also the Museum of Fine Arts. People can get to those by taking the
Looper.
But what is like the spot where the people will get off most conveniently and switch over to the Looper to go to those? That's where they want to go.
There are a couple of locations, and I might turn to Cassandra to maybe help me with that. But there are stations, quite a few stations in the downtown area. One is by the USF at 6th Avenue South and 3rd Street. And then we have a couple of stops on 3rd Street as well as 4th Street
Yeah.
where the Looper stops might be.
Okay, so, and they'll be well marked and everything like that, so we have smooth transitions for people
Yeah.
that aren't familiar with the area. Because those are two things that we want to make sure people can get to easily. Okay, good. All right, I made the motion already to approve this project, and you need something more?
Second.
than
Nope, that's it. I
that?
need,
Okay.
okay, no more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raptor.
Okay. And then we have a draft budget.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's true, too. I'll get that.
You have at your place is the paper copy, that will be, it's a summer project where you have to review this, as do we. Because there's things that change during the course of the summer, but that's all.
This is thinner than in years past.
Double-sided.
It's on a diet, it's got its own Fitbit. No, that doesn't include all of our statistical data, et cetera, right? Or is it in there?
It's in there.
Oh my gosh, they got it in, all right.
It is
Very,
good.
very cool.
Well, almost, I think it's still good morning. We're gonna be talking about the budget. The budget for 2020 is an $86 million budget. It maintains service for our customers in Pinellas County that we have today. And our focus next year is gonna be on continued collaboration with our partners, both on policy, And of course, what we've talked a lot about is on funding for the future, to make sure that we have the partnerships in place. Sometimes when we get into things, we talk about, like this morning at Finance Committee, we talked about health insurance and Fitbits and things, and we get into a lot of detail. And I wanted to just take a little step back for a moment and say, you know what, we do an awful lot. We've got a fleet of 210 buses running about 13.6 million revenue miles. We have 892,000 hours of service. We operate 2 park and rides. We've got passenger amenities that includes about a little over 4,700 bus stops, as well as over 500 bus shelters. We've got transit hubs, customer service centers. We offer paratransit service within the community. And what is really important to me with all that we do is our customers absolutely love us. You can tell by the 2 sitting on the bench waiting for the bus, they are so happy. But we've just recently done some customer service surveys, and it does nothing but continually improve. So we're doing extremely well. But I wanted to kind of give a little overview of what it is we actually do. The basis of our budget for the following year is we take a look at this year and forecast to where we will be. As you all know, we had a budgeted deficit of $1.7 million for this year. The board has really directed us to try to find ways to save money, increase revenues, do whatever we can to help reduce that, because that helps us for the future. As a matter of fact, we've been able to save a little over $1 million so far in this year's budget. The chart up here shows a lot of the different areas where we've saved. We've basically saved throughout the entire authority. Everybody is doing their part to help us out. So we anticipate that our forecast for this year will probably have around a $500,000 deficit compared to the 1.7 million. So great job to everybody in the entire authority for that. And we've had a
Can I
lot
ask you
of...
a question about that slide?
Sure.
The expenses, are those savings or are those?
I'm sorry, those are expense saving, those are expense categories and where we've had savings. So we've saved a little over $1 million.
Those are all
Those don't
negatives.
add up.
They're all negatives.
Those do not add up to $1 million.
Actually, I
No,
believe they
it's
do.
more than $1 million. Okay,
Okay,
just
well,
wanted.
thank you, I will check
wasn't
that.
sure what I was
I will
looking at.
we will fact check that. Because and these are the major categories that are out there for the ones where we've saved. So during the course of this year, we've had a lot of accomplishments. We've had several national awards for marketing, for our maintenance team. We've put the electric buses into service in downtown St. Pete. Our mobility on demand rides have reached all new levels. Healthy Hop and Tarpon was introduced. You've heard from Abhishek today on the progression of the BRT. We've also won a lot of discretionary grant awards for the transit-oriented development or some, electric buses, innovative coordinated access and mobility. And very important is the board has voted to maintain service. And we had more accomplishments than this, but it's essentially what we could fit on the page. And part of it is when we started out with a blank slide, Brad and I sat down and said, what did we do this year? What did we get done? The 2 of us looked at each other and said, I think all we've done has been in meetings. And we sat there, we were a little stupefied. What did we do? And then we started thinking, and we realized how much was done. But we have been doing a lot of collaboration. And I've got it listed up here, but we've had a lot of positives through all these meetings we've been in. The county, we're really partnering well with the county on quite a bit. Forward Pinellas and looking at the funding sources. We just heard about $4 million from the city of St. Pete, as well as $750,000 for art and transit. We've success with FDOT on many grant areas, including $9.5 million for the BRT. FTA, big partner with the BRT, as well as others. You can see discretionary awards that we've won from them. T-BARTA, we continue to work with T-BARTA on many levels. City of Clearwater has helped provide us funding for spring break, and SEIU has been a great partner. So we've had a lot of positive collaboration that we can't forget about as we're doing all these other things. The $86 million budget is going to be to continue to build on these successes and improve efficiencies. And we're going to use a small portion of our reserves to help balance the budget for next year. So how is that $86 million divided? That $86 million of the budget, when we look at the expense elements, we have about 60% of the budget is going to union wages, salaries, and fringe benefits. The next biggest piece is our purchase transportation, followed by diesel fuel and services. Services, a lot of it includes our technology piece with all of our software and so on. So this gives you a little picture of how do we spend that $86 million. Out of that, I sort of sat back and, a part of me always says I want to be able to control everything, but I can't always control everything. And some things we work on at a point in time and then we're locked in. So I've put up on this chart some of the key areas where we've locked in expenses either through negotiation, such as union contracts, our benefits piece, purchase transportation, like with Jolly Trolley, Looper, for our contracts there. I honestly have no control over the insurance market, nor do I have control over diesel fuel market, although I have control over what I can lock in to mitigate some of the risks. Utilities, again, the rates that are put into utilities, I don't have control over. There are some things we do have control over that we could adjust if we needed to, but would we actually want to? Henry does a great job and his team in maintaining our buses, but would we really want to defer bus maintenance when putting premium quality, safe service on the road is what we're all about? Training and development of employees. We may have a transit asset management plan here at PSTA, but our biggest asset is really our employees. We've got marketing initiatives like we were just talking about. We also want to have a lot of people who are choice riders, so we need to do better marketing efforts. We've got administrative position filling. Sometimes we can withhold filling a position to save some money, but we can't always wait forever on that. Administrative pay adjustments, if I gave everybody absolutely nothing, it would be a drop in the bucket. So about 85% of what we do is really, I don't have a lot of control over. I like to take a look at it in a little different way. We looked at the expense elements such as salaries, benefits, fuel, etc. But I wanted to show you actually how we spend it by our divisions on here. So I've got it going from most expensive to least expensive, and I'm going to talk about the top couple expense elements here, areas. Our operations division is our largest division. Out of this budget, they're at $37.3 million. Again, they're running over 40 bus routes with up to about 390 operators. They're responsible for our customer service and our safety, security, and training. Now, the gentleman up here is Eric Gerhardt. He's up there with our Commissioner Driscoll, and he is the gentleman who was caught by some random person out in the public doing a very nice thing for one of our customers, walking her to a bus stop, an elderly lady. So we do quite a bit, and there are heroes every single day out there who do amazing work. Speaking of amazing, when you talk about our fleet maintenance, we talk about a lot about how PSTA is one of the lowest, or is the lowest cost transit provider in the country. Part of that reason is because we do things innovatively. We have trained our maintenance employees to be warranty certified. So now we don't have downtime by sending it somewhere else. We know we're getting the quality work done, and we're doing it timely, efficiently. They've just won, as you may remember from last month, a national award at APTA for the maintenance division. So we're very, very proud of what they do, and it's why one of the reasons we're low cost. The other thing we do is some things we bring in-house to do, other things we outsource. We outsource our paratransit service to Care Ride, and we outsource some of our routes to Jolly Trolley and to the Looper. Now, the finance division, out of all the support groups, has the most people and the most expenses related to it, which doesn't diminish everything else that the planning department does, and HR and marketing. We just happen to cost a lot more money. But we have, money comes into us through the finance division, and it goes out. But we have a lot of fun working with everyone on that. The other thing that we talk about is our capital program, and we spent a lot of time last month in detail talking about the capital program. Some of our accomplishments we're hoping for next year is to have the operator safety shields in place, taking a look at that. Our rapid transit service, or the RAD, or the BRT, whatever it will become, will be under construction. And then our bus replacements. And our bus replacements next year, when we talk about saving some money, we will be able to save some money in next year's budget by buying trolleys for all along the Gulf Coast area, along the Gulf Boulevard. And we'll be able to replace 20 of our buses at a lower cost by buying these trolleys. So that helps us overall in our budget. Plus, it makes for a fun experience. Now the branding of what we have between Jolly Trolley and PSTA will be very similar. So how is all of the operations that we talk about here, how is it funded? Again, this gives a little pictorial picture. Property tax is the biggest revenue source coming in. For next year, we anticipate about $53 million. We'll find out on July 1st what that number will really be. We've seen an uptick from last year to this year, so we're very appreciative of everybody's home values going up. Our farebox revenues make up another big piece of it, as well as state operating assistance. Very pleased to say that our farebox revenues have been increasing, and we're actually coming in well above budget. And that's something we haven't been able to say over the last few years, so we're very proud of that. So how does it play into the forecast? On this chart, just to give you a little reminder of what it all means, the little numbers at the top of each of the bars is our forecasted or projected expenditures for each of the years. The green is the normal revenues that we get in through all the revenue sources I just mentioned to help to cover the expenses, and the little slow sliver of yellow is what we're taking out of reserves for operations. So this gives us a pictorial over the next couple years. It gives us also a frame of reference of why it's very important that we continue to collaborate on future funding for financial stability in the long run. So our takeaways from today is we're doing great. We're doing great in fiscal year 19, finding ways to save money. We're going to benefit for that going in the future. And we have no service plans, thanks to the board saying that we're going to maintain service to Pinellas County, and that we're investing in our capital needs. Any questions? Yes.
How are we doing with our finding some funding? I mean, we're on June already. Are we?
We have a workshop. I'm so glad you brought that up, because we'll be having a workshop with the county on July 18th. So we've had, I know Brad has had, I think, every other week meetings with the county on this, and so we'll be moving forward with that.
Yeah, I think,
No? Not a closed meeting.
no. I mean, it's not gonna be as big as, or it's not planned to be as big as the one that was in January, because it's really with the county commission, but it's an open meeting.
Will be held at the city.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
But I think, the discussions with the county have been really good, looking at sort of a transportation in the context of affordable housing and workforce development, all three elements. And certainly, public transit is a key component, and Ford Pinellas has been helping us define the transit investments, and then maintaining what we've got, plus investments for more transit in key corridors, but also bike and pedestrian improvements, sidewalks, and county, unincorporated Pinellas County signal and road needs, And then a letter has been sent out by the county to every city to help identify unfunded city needs from each of the cities, just so that on the 18th, the county commission can have a full pack, can have the broadest understanding of all of the transportation needs. So I think that's the right way to start it out. They're obviously going to have to, most of the discussion is going to be about how to pay for it. The funding options that they have at their disposal to pay for it.
Good, thank you.
On July 18th, that's Thursday.
And we don't know where it is yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what, I guess that will be announced.
Yes.
What, okay, where, when, time.
Yeah. Let me see what I've got in here.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay, I
know.
wasn't
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, well, Brad's looking that up.
I don't know.
Looking at two line items in particular, the purchase transportation,
Mhm.
doubling in cost, as well as the insurance. Can you?
I could be delighted to talk about. Yeah, the insurance piece itself is, the premiums are going up a very small bit. The other piece that goes in there are recoveries from insurance carriers. It's a good news, bad news. The good news is we haven't had large enough claims that we would be seeking reimbursement from our excess carrier on that. So, that's a good thing.
So this is going back to just a planning level, not, which includes a lot of, I don't want to say worst case scenarios, but, not ideal conditions.
What it reflects is actually the fact that we've had less severe accidents, and which is a good thing. The only thing is we've had a lot, when you compare year to year, it's going up, and we've had a lot of recoveries in this year. The risk department has gone back out and really scrubbed through every single claim, getting monies back on that in this fiscal year.
Mhm.
But we just haven't had the severity of claims that would warrant us, we don't feel at this point, to get money back. So comparing forecast to budget, it's about a 32.9% increase, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it's the proposed 2020 is basically the same as it was for the adopted 2019, so.
Mhm.
We're going back to our presuming that it's gonna be even worse.
And that's something we always talk about. One claim could be $300,000.
Right.
So we kind of.
I just wanted to make sure that that's what's
Yes.
going on. That
Mhm.
We're really, it's not that we're experiencing an increase, we're basically having a very small increase to what our budget was the prior
Right.
year. Just different than what our actual experience was.
Yes.
Okay, and,
And-
so the purchase transportation.
What is the, just so I answer the question correctly, purchase transportation alternate, what does that include?
That is your direct connect, TD late shift.
Okay. Does it include the sandbox as well,
It does
or
not.
the MOD? I think, this very large increase, Mike, is due to what? The increase in TD late shift funding we got from the
Yes,
state?
Yes.
Okay, so it's really reflecting increased expenditures because we got a much larger grant
Okay.
from the state than we did the previous year. From 580 to 1.2.
That's an easy answer.
Yes.
Just so I understand, the charts we're seeing when funding and so on for our budget do not include any costs associated with acquisition of new vehicles. So we're assuming that all that's going to come from grant money or outside sources?
Right. When you look at the pie charts in the beginning part of this book, that all relates to operations.
Yeah.
If you go back to somewhere around page 90-ish. Yeah, the capital budget starts on page 90.
Capital.
And then on the last page, we'll give you a summary of where all that funding is coming from. The buses will be paid for with Federal Transit Administration funds.
Right, okay. I just wanted to make sure we're not overlooking something that important. 'cause we do-
Never.
Okay.
So yes, we are buying buses.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
I don't know if Debbie would ever overlook anything.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So the budget will be presented in its glorious fashion, as Debbie just did, at the board meeting next week.
Mhm.
And then there'll be an action item in July for the trim notice of .75. And then the 2 hearings have been scheduled, hopefully are on your calendar for the month of September, including our one regular PSTA board meeting in the month of September will do double duty as the second public hearing and be at 6 o'clock at night. So that's what we all have to look forward to.
All right. Future meeting subjects. Anything in particular?
What'd you say?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I actually just had a question about the public meetings. Have we ever gone off-site for those public meetings? When we're holding 2 public meetings here, you know, does it make sense to try to?
No, I don't think we've done that. I don't remember if we've ever done that. If you're talking about for the budget?
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't really usually gotten much attendance.
I agree,
Oh.
and I'm just, it occurs to me that we might get more attendance if we wind up, if we're in areas where there's more of our riders, more people,
Yeah.
where transit getting here isn't as big of an issue.
This was kind of a central stop on this.
Well, I wasn't gonna propose North County, so.
Well, yeah.
I mean.
Okay, I was just
the
wondering,
PSA
I know school board has also done some, where they've kind of moved around the county for board meetings and things like that, so that, you know, people have greater access to those meetings. And so it's just.
We do
it's
that
just
with
an option.
non-budget meetings. I mean, for
Yeah.
public hearings for budgets, we don't go off-site, but sometimes we do.
I realize we don't have a budget item for off-site meetings, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was just gonna.
And-
You have it at your house.
The PSA board has had debates over the years about whether or not more people could attend the meetings if they were held at night rather than at 9 o'clock in the morning. And also, you know, sometimes we have PSA board members that have jobs and would prefer to be at night. So at different times, the board has voted to have more meetings at night, and what the actual results are, basically the same, or actually a little bit less attendance by the general public at night than at 9.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's it.
Some of us have a bus to catch.
I would like to thank 40% of the PSTA planning committee for riding the bus.
Yeah.
On a very regular basis.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, there you go. We'll
All right.
adjourn.
We are adjourned.
There you go. Thank you.
All right.
Question about Friday. The 9 well, all buses are
Fundraising.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Just on that set.
I see, yeah. It's been crowded.
On PSTA. 9 and 18.
Okay, I didn't know about that.
The 9 and 18.
A couple things on the
Run